Hello, everybody. Old Buck Dave here again. Episode 149 of Two Old Bucks, believe it or not. And with me is none other than
the other old Buck Dell.
The other old Buck Dale. So, hey, welcome, buddy. So, what's been going on since I saw you a couple hours ago?
Actually, we had a true coffee, coffee break. Yeah, coffee experience, and one of the, other than normal chatter, one of the funny things I would tell our listeners was we were crossing I would say a major intersection. It's 4 lanes in every direction.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Plus the turn lanes. So you cross the intersection and you have to push a button. And we're standing there, and you push the button, the call button, to get the indication to cross. So I said to Dave, I said, Dave, I said, these things have facial recognition. and usually if I do that, he'll hesitate a second and listen to me. And I said, these things have facial recognition. So I said, when you push it, they know who it is. And usually it'll tell you, it'll say, wait, do not cross. Yeah. But it's okay for you, Dave, to try it.
Yeah, give it a shot. Yeah.
So we're standing on the corner laughing like crazy. The two old bucks are just hysterical. The people probably driving around saying, "What is it with those two old guys?" And we're just laughing. So that's the kind of humor that we often have over a coffee. Yeah.
Hey, we got a couple letters. So that's always
letters
good.
From afar. Okay.
Letters from afar. We got Ranger Rick has tuned in again. He was showing some empathy for us, or for me, my wife and I, on the suitcase episode we had where she got a new suitcase with a jammed up combination lock. And he said he Googled this whole thing, and he says, this is a big problem. It's not just you, Dave. He said, these people have a big problem with these combination locks on the suitcases not working right. So I guess I take some solace in knowing that we're not the only ones suffering. And he says, hey, be happy it wasn't the 40 number dial combination. He said, that's like 64,000 combinations you'd have to try. So
I will say, but basically you had a combo lock that you set the new code for, and then you couldn't open it. That's what it
didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, that was what I'm saying. That was. Anyhow, thanks, Ranger Rick.
Yeah.
He's a regular listener.
And we got a nice note from a vintage vixen here, and this is a quote. She says, since I can't sleep, I'm listening to your podcast at 1:11 a.m. Okay, that's us, the Melatonin Brothers. She says, I can't believe you paid $20 to rent About My Father. That's the movie About My Father. She says, I rented it for $1 today. Thought it would be hysterical, but I was also disappointed in it. Hoping to fall asleep soon. So, okay. So we're still the Melatonin Brothers out there. People are using us as a sleep aid. So keep sending those letters and cards in, folks.
But it's a special edition today. We're really pleased to have some guests with us, and you can introduce them for us, Dave.
I am. As we promised in the past, we're going to have a lot of firsts this week. This is the first time we have 2 guests together on the show, and it's the first time we've had an encore from a pair of guests. I guess that goes without saying. It's the first time we've had 2 guests from the same town, more or less, and. We could keep going on and on. I sound like baseball or something like that. But anyway, welcome back, Bridey, Thelen-Heidel, and Bruce Rettig, 2 of our noted authors.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Dave and Dell. It's always great hearing your voices on the podcast, and it's even better in person virtually.
Better in person, okay. Yeah, really, really glad you both could make it and could be here together. I wanted to bring the folks up to date, basically, on what you've been doing since we talked to you, Bridey, in January, and then Bruce in March for you. So, hey, Bridey, let's start with you. Now, you were headed to an off-Broadway show, a one-day ensemble presentation. So tell us a little bit about what that was like. What kind of feedback have you gotten on the show since you did it?
Yeah, thank you. After I was on your episode, I had auditioned for a role in New York City. It's a show called Listen to Your Mother, and it gets licensed around the country. And this license happened to be in Manhattan. So it was an off-Broadway production of Listen to Your Mother, with I think there were about 12 of us. And yeah, and I got chosen through my Zoom audition all the way here from California. So flew out there and had I don't know, maybe like 20, 25 friends and family make the trip to the city.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, we filled the first couple rows of the theater.
Nice. Wow.
It was pretty exciting. And I read a piece, an original piece I wrote adapted from my memoir.
Mhm.
And yeah, so we did 2 shows on April 1st, and it was amazing. I mean, it was pretty incredible experience for sure. Like very far out of my comfort zone, but you know, Broadway was a block away. I mean, it was
Yeah.
insane. It was
That's-
insane. Yeah.
That's pretty
And
exciting. Pretty
my
exciting.
my students were really excited about it, and yeah, a lot of people in town, I know Bruce and Tahoe Writers Works, they watched it, and my English department at the high school where I teach watched it. So it meant a lot to have everybody supporting me like that. It was great.
Yeah, nice. So Bruce, you had a good cheering section there.
Yes, we had a watch party at my house, and yeah, we were cheering Bridey on from afar. It was a lot of fun to see her read.
That's great. Yeah, I watched her too. I watched her here from here, and
Oh,
that
thanks,
was nice.
guys.
That was wonderful. That was and this is my unbiased opinion, but you definitely stole the show. I thought you were
Oh,
you really, it was a slam dunk. A lot of them were very good. I mean, very good. I mean, it was a real interesting combination of presentations of essays.
well,
So
thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey, Bridey, does this have, is there any future potential in something like this? I mean, is this something you could do again in a different fashion? Or is this a one-off thing?
Yeah, I think for me it's a one-off. I'm kind of like that. Like I kind of do something and then I go, okay, I did that. I hiked the Grand Canyon once, you know, like
check that
I did-
box.
yeah. The producer was really wonderful. She actually she's writing another show and asked me if I wanted to participate in that. So there's definitely something down the road, but in terms of this, I think I'm kind of done. It was a lot.
Yeah, it's not something you're chasing. It's something if it drops in your
Yeah,
lap and it fits, you'll do it. But you're
Yeah.
basically you're a writer, and that's what you want to do, I guess. Right?
Yeah, a writer, and I definitely love public speaking, but you guys watched it. It was pretty vulnerable and it was a lot, you know.
It was a lot. Yeah.
But you checked those boxes and it was great. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, that was great.
But
Thank
you're
you.
a teacher.
I am. I teach high school English. Yeah, I taught Bruce's kids, all 3 of them. Yep.
Well, I mean, there's a
So-
success story right there. I mean,
Oh
so
yeah.
it
Yeah.
just adds to your resume. I think it's great.
Bruce, are you allowed to say what your kids thought of their English teacher?
Oh, they learn from the best. All of them are very
Okay.
strong
Oh,
writers.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's nice. That's nice. That's really great. That's great.
Thank you. His son often used words I had to look up. So he came to me with a lot.
Nice. So, hey, Bruce, you received an award or two, I believe, since we had our podcast for your book, Refraction. Could you tell us a little bit about that? What was involved there?
Yeah, it's actually done real well in regards to the awards. It had won several awards before being published. It was up against some published pieces when I was first writing it, and I had entered it in some contest, and it won 3 awards before even being published. And then after
Nice.
being published, it was the publisher nominated it for a pushcart prize, one of the excerpts, which is a pretty extinguished prize. So I was really excited about having that nominated. And then I won a Forward Reviews bronze award and silver award, and
Wow.
the categories adventure, and another one in ecology and environment. And that one was especially meant a lot to me. You know, it's
Mhm.
environmental slant to it. And then I won a gold award, a Nautilus award, and I just found out last week it's a finalist for a SIPO award, which is a Colorado-based award, and a lot of the different scenes throughout the book take place in Colorado, so that'll be a good one as well.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah,
Nice.
it's done very well. It's
So you're,
great.
you're getting a lot of traction here in different directions on this thing. That's nice. That's great.
Well, I would say, Bruce, when I read that, I would say simply that I could understand it. I mean, the pictures were clear. You painted a picture of what your time there in the Arctic that I could understand. It was clear. So you're whatever story you tell, I would think that you'd probably do well with it. You're going to carry on with something else? You got something else in the pipeline?
Yeah,
you
I'm
write about?
actually right back in the process again.
All right, tell us about that. What's
Yeah.
next?
Waking up at 5 a.m. and trying to get an hour or two of writing in before the day job starts. But yeah, I'm working on a novel I began about 3 years ago. The working title's Fallout, and it's actually, I might have bit off a little more than I could chew, but it's going to be a trilogy. I always loved Cormac McCarthy's Border trilogy, and I thought, when I started writing this story, I thought this is going to be 3 books. I could just tell. And so it's kind of based on characters that are in search of themselves. They're on the run, traveling Nevada's high mountain desert. And the story's told within the framework of the nuclear testing. It starts off in the early 1950s, and it opens up with a Las Vegas bomb party. And it was the first detonation in Nevada. And so it kind of involves downwinders, quirky historical tidbits in Nevada, and the love between a man and a woman on the run.
Wow.
So it's got a little bit.
Okay. That's a story. There's
It's
a couple stories.
fantastic. It's fantastic. I've read it. I've read a few chapters of it, and it's so good. Really good.
Is this something that you review some chapters at the Tahoe Writers Works, or?
Yeah, he has. He's run them through us, and they're great.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah.
So Bruce, if you start a book like that, I'm fascinated by the mechanics books. In fact, I was going to ask you, have you folks ever read any Vonnegut? Just out of curiosity, Kurt Vonnegut.
Oh, I love Kurt
Yeah.
Vonnegut. Yeah.
Okay.
Me too.
All right. That
Me
tells
too.
me a lot right there. Kurt Vonnegut.
Me too.
Very simple, straightforward stuff. A brilliant mind. But when you get started on a book like that, do you? I mean, you get caught up in the action yourself, where you can just write and write and write. That sounds like to me what you can do. Once you have this guy riding across the prairies in his horse, you just carry on with it. Is that how it works? Your mind just.
Yeah. Well, I think, it's a different process for a lot of different writers. Some writers kind of outline and know where they're going. Other writers, where you talk like about Stephen King, he just jumps in and he just discovers a story along the way.
Uh-huh.
And then other writers, I've heard that they'll write the very ending and then work up to the ending, so they know how it's going to end up. And that's another way to go.
Have to figure out how they get there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Hey, speaking of writing, now, Bridey, since we had our podcast, you got your first book deal.
I did. Yeah, thank you.
Tell us all about that. Tell us how it happened.
Yeah, so I attended the San Francisco Writers Conference that Bruce, actually, his memoir, won a couple years back, and fell in love with an independent publisher, She Writes Press, and they are publishing Bright Eyes, my memoir, and so it will be it'll be out next August, so August 27th, 2024, and it'll be available at all your bookstores and Barnes and Noble and Target and Walmart and Powell's and all the places Bruce's book is, by the way.
Wow.
Okay.
So
Wow.
Bruce's book is in all those places as well. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I feel really just grateful that I found a home for the book. And they, right now we're in the process, the final edits just went to the publisher. And they're designing the cover. And then we'll have advanced reader copies out probably early in the year. And a couple fun things that came out of that, as I was getting closer to the final edits, I had to get lyric permission from 2 bands that I use their songs. So Duran Duran, the 80s band, is pretty big in my book.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so they gave me permission to use one of their songs. And then another band, Gary Lee and Showdown, they have a song called the Rodeo Song, which is kind of an old classic from the 80s. And so I got lyric permission. And interesting, now that we're talking about Stephen King also used the rodeo song in one of his books.
Ah,
And
good company. Yeah.
yeah, so so kind of a cool connection there. So the book is going to be out, and I'm really excited, and all kinds of great things are happening around it right now. So it feels like, your podcast started it all, I have to say.
I don't know about that, but
I'm telling you, well, a lot of people listen to it,
we
and
sure,
I
yeah,
have had,
you are one of our top-rated podcasts ever.
yeah,
You're
well,
right up there, kid.
it's paid off for me, so I'll be sending you guys some cupcakes or something.
No, I thought you were going to say royalty checks or something. But no.
Oh, I haven't made any
Cupcakes
money
will
yet.
work.
Writers,
Cupcakes will
writers
work.
we don't make money, so I'll send you cupcakes.
That's
Yeah.
good. Now, did you say August 27th?
Yes, of next year.
So that's like almost exactly a year from now.
Yeah.
Days.
Yeah. And it feels so quick. I know it's a lot of friends and family are like still a year away, but Bruce knows like a year is not actually that long, and there's publicity and there's marketing and there's all kinds of great things going on. So a lot of fun.
Yeah, that reminds me, that's something else that I wanted to ask you both. And I guess Bruce would have more experience in this. So I'll ask Bruce first, and you can jump in too, Bridey. But so Bruce, you got the writing process, and you're kind of in control of that, and that takes a certain amount of effort, pain, and suffering to get there. And then you've got the whole how do I sell my book process, the promotion process. So, which I guess you have a whole lot less control over. So what are your feelings on comparing the two processes? Which is easier, or are they just too different to compare?
Yeah, my day job is I work in advertising marketing. I'm a graphic designer. So I thought, okay, I've got this. Now you finally get to promote myself. It is really hard. It's very time consuming. If I had to do it over again, I might hire a publicist, because there's just so much follow-up and so much outreach. There's so many different avenues and different ways you can promote it. And, my publisher's an independent publisher, and they did a really good job on their end, promoting it as best they could. But a lot of the heavy lifting went with me. So it's definitely a challenge, and it's a lot harder than people understand. And yeah, and I was just going to say, just like Bridey had said, a year goes really fast, and you have to start laying out all these promotional efforts really early, because when your book comes out, that's when the major push is. So you have to have everything lined up before then.
Yeah. So it's a lot of work that you don't expect, I guess. You think, I've written my book, it's all done, but it's not really done, is it?
No, and it is an ongoing thing. I'm still promoting it, and I'm still making connections. And I attended the community of writers workshop at Olympic Valley this summer, and it was a great experience. I wanted to workshop my new piece, but at the same time, I also wanted to promote refraction and make some connections at the workshop as well. And I took a class that was titled Alchemy of Adaptation, and it's a book to film class. So I made a couple connections. I'm trying to see what the process is to possibly adapt it into a film. So I was kind of promoting refraction while I was there, and I was also workshopping my new piece.
Yeah.
And
then you still have a day job.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Bridey, you're not as far down that road, but I'm sure you've experienced some of the same things and maybe frustrations.
Well, I did hire a publicist.
Okay.
Yeah, I've learned from
Bruce.
Yeah, I've just learned from watching that. I think that I just wanted to do that. Yeah, for sure. So I just actually signed with a publicist yesterday, and it's an investment for sure. But I feel like Bruce said, I mean, there's a lot of follow-up involved, and I also have a day job. And so I just want to give this book the best chance that it can have. Yeah, but it's an interesting dance, because most writers, as the publicist and I were talking, I think Bruce, even, the two of us are kind of different for writers. Like, we're far more extroverted than a lot of writers. And, most writers are
Yeah.
happy to sit behind the computer and, or, you know, and write the book. And so the marketing is really challenging, but, you know, I mean, somebody like me, I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I'll put on sequins and go do a dance. It doesn't really matter, but you know,
Okay. I'm not going to put on
so
sequins, but
no, but you know, that part of it I'm kind of excited about. And I look forward to, you know, the next year and all the things that are going to happen. And yeah, it's exciting. Big
so
stuff coming.
yeah, okay. So your personality is going to go a long way, whereas a lot of writers might kind of shy away or groan at the whole process. You're kind of looking forward to it because that's what you like to do.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I face high school kids every day. So
Every
there's not
day,
much
yeah.
that's more terrifying, right? I mean, that's
That's true.
that's
That's
a
true.
court of the highest judgment. I mean,
There
they're
you
looking at
go.
your outfit, they're deciding if you should never wear that again. So there's not much scarier actually than being a high
that's
school
a good
teacher.
point. Yeah, if you can
Yeah,
get through that, you can certainly handle anything else. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Bridey, do you find people coming to you and asking you the why question or the how question? Like, oh, I understand you wrote something. Do you or Bruce the same thing? Do you people coming saying, you know, you did something, I want to do something like that. Can you tell me how you did it? Do you have people asking you
Yeah, I
questions?
mean, just today at the doctor's office, I mean, you know, it was a former student of mine, and she said she's actually writing her memoir, and I referred her to Tahoe Writers Works, you know, and
Mm,
I I get it almost every day at this point, you know, because I think I also push that messaging that I really believe people should write their story. If they feel it, they should write it, no matter how crappy it's going to be, you know.
mhm.
Um, and so that's definitely in my messaging everywhere, is to encourage people to just write it down. So yeah, I get a lot of questions about that. I've also in the last year done some writing workshops, and I've helped some people write their way kind of through trauma, out of trauma. I'm doing that for people as well.
Mhm.
So loving that. Yeah, it's been
Nice.
great.
Hey,
How about
let me get over to you, Bruce. Or were you going to say something else there?
no, I was going
Um,
to ask Bruce the same question. Basically, people ask him those kind of questions too. Do you get stopped? You know, how, why, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's different with a memoir. As Bridey was saying, is you're you know, you're putting a lot of your feelings down on paper. That can be a real challenge, and really opening yourself up to your
Mm.
audience. And, you know, I was writing short stories and mostly fiction, a little bit of nonfiction. And then I wrote the short story that kind of launched the book. And I thought, you know, I've got all these stories from working up there, and it was a time of my life. It was a, you know, rite of passage. And I thought I wanted to share that with people that were in their early 20s that were having the same challenges I was at that time, you know, and I wanted to share what I went through and how I came out on the other end. And it was really nice getting a couple comments I saw on Amazon and saying that they wish this book came out earlier. They would have loved to have read it in their late teens and early 20s. And that made me feel good. So it resonated to that audience. And that was really important to me.
Yeah. Yeah, we're having another author back next week, Frank Young. I don't know if you folks were able to listen to his episode where he wrote a book. Took him 10 years, but it was he spent his sophomore year in college in India. He took a lot of notes, and a few years ago, or I guess in 2010 or so, he said, I want to write a book about all this. So it was a lot of youthful experiences that you know, a lot of people could benefit from reading. Bruce, let me ask you something else here. You know, when we interviewed you, we got a kind of a late start. We had some technical issues, and I had some other questions that we didn't get to ask you. And here's one that I wanted to ask you, and that was, you know, how were you changed, or how did your worldview change after you got back home after your stints in Alaska? You know, again, I mentioned Frank Young. He said he said, and Dale concurred. He said that the real culture shock comes when you get back home after you've after your world has changed, and he said that was a tougher adjustment than when he went to India in the end. So what was your experience there when you came back? So, okay, there's my family, there's my girlfriend. How did you look at things differently? And here's a tough one. You can or cannot answer this one, depending if you want to. You and your girlfriend must have eventually broken up, and was that have anything to do with it?
You know, it's really tough when you're away like that, especially in a remote area. It's kind of like a time warp. It's, your life at home, it keeps moving on, but you're in a totally different world and you're moving at a different speed. And living in the Arctic where I was, time goes really slow. The work is very monotonous. And, you know, we shoveled snow for the first full month. All my time cards had shoveling snow 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
So getting back home I kept thinking of what is it like coming back home? It's a little bit like hopping onto a moving escalator at an airport. It kind of just sweeps you along and carries you along because you're going one speed, but everything back home is going at another speed. You know, the families change, friendships change, relationships change. And it's kind of like waking up from a long sleep and everything's moved on. So it's really hard to adjust. And then also the culture of the work atmosphere up there too, you know, the swearing, the tobacco, everything that you do, you know, is in a man camp. And then you get back.
Yeah, I recall
Watch your language when you get
let
home.
You let some rough language let loose at home and just not realizing where you were.
Yeah. My mom shook the kitchen knife at me and said, "Hey, you're back home." But it, you know, the one thing that it does though, it provides a lot of time for introspection and kind of looking inside and seeing yourself and learning about yourself, especially life at sea. Because prior to my last season in Prudhoe Bay, I sailed to Nigeria, Africa, and that was a 3-month trip on the water. And most all of it was spent at sea. We were only in dock a week out of that whole 3 months. And when all you see is nothing but water, you start to get very introspective and start thinking of a lot of different things. And when you get back, sometimes the people that have changed, like your girlfriend, you know, they can't wait forever. And when you come back, you've changed a little bit, they've changed a little bit, and you know, it's expected. I was traveling a lot at that time, and you know, it's kind of the sacrifice that I made at that point. But it all worked out because I met my soulmate, married to her now, and 3 beautiful children that were educated by a great English teacher.
Ah.
Oh,
Good segue there. Yeah.
so lovely. So lovely.
You know, I think it's fascinating that you two know each other. I think that's a big plus. And the group that your friends that you work with out there. I thought that was kind of interesting that you're friends, and you know, I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool too. It's been very inspiring to get to know Bruce. Yeah, he's a legend in town, so I feel really lucky to get to be his friend.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Hey, here's a question for both of you, and I'll ask you first, Bridey. How did you come up with the title for your book?
Well, Bright Eyes was a nickname I had as a kid. So originally there were a couple other titles, and then because the book is about optimism, I thought, well, Bright Eyes also kind of lends itself to that. Yeah, and it gets used quite a bit in the book. So that's the connection. The publisher still reserves the right to change the title. I'm hoping they don't, because I have a lot around Bright Eyes. I have a website and all kinds of things. So, but they certainly do, just based on who's also published under that title and all different factors. But for now, it's Bright Eyes.
Okay. And now are they're doing artwork for the title as well? Do you have a say in any of that, or?
Yeah, they have. They have an art department, and the art department, they asked me for a pretty lengthy kind of list of just information and covers that I liked, and fonts and typography and that kind of thing. And then they're going to come to me, I think around November, with 4 or 5 different covers. And I'm sure I'll love one of them. But if I don't, you know, they're kind of willing to go back to the drawing board. But yeah, it's basically 4 or 5. But they're really skilled at what they do. So I'm not really going to fight them much
Not worried
because
about it. Yeah.
yeah, their whole point is to sell books and to get it out there. So they know better what sells than, than I do. So I'm
Mhm.
happy to be coached, very much so.
Okay. And I think Bruce, you had the good fortune of being married to a graphic designer or something like that, because
Well, I am a graphic
you
designer.
are a graphic designer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah, when the publisher asked me, she said, "Well, do you have any photos in mind? I'm going to start designing the cover," and they have a talented staff, a very talented staff. And I said, "Well, actually, I drafted up a couple covers. I can run them by you." And it's a photo I was thinking of using, and the photo on the cover was me standing on the ice, and all the photos inside the book were taken by me during that period in college. And anyway, I sent her a couple of the covers, and she goes, "Wow, I'm surprised. Usually when I get drafts like this from the author, it
Throw it
just
away.
doesn't work." Yeah. Yeah. So she she only made just a couple minor revisions, and then her graphic designer took over and did all the inside layout, and it was really good working with them.
Mhm.
I kind of tried to be hands off, but I did have an idea about the concept for the cover.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, Bruce, you told us about what your next work in progress is. Now, Bridey, are you working on something else, or are you still wrapped up in taking care of getting Bright Eyes out there?
So I just was selected to be a TEDx speaker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. So we have it here locally. They've been putting on TEDx for, I think, about the last 6 or 7 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I applied a few months ago and was just told that I was selected. So that is October 14th. And so I'm working on the TEDx. So I'm working
Oh.
on that, and it's themes that come out of Bright Eyes. So it'll be it's very interconnected to the themes in Bright Eyes. And yeah, I'm really excited
Oh,
about that.
that's
Like we get
great.
to do a TEDx.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to say
Yes.
with pride here, you are our second guest who has been offered a TEDx presentation.
Hey, I'm
Yeah,
telling you, you guys
Awesome.
got something.
we
You
had
got
a
something.
one of a woman that we interviewed in France is also I don't know if she's done it yet or not, but she said she's got a TEDx that's coming in the works here over in
Yeah.
Europe. Yeah, so that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it feels really exciting. And yeah, I can't wait. We start school Monday, so I get to tell the kids, so that'll be really fun.
Oh, nice. That's
Mhm.
wonderful. So, hey, what about Hank the Tank? What's the real story on Hank the Tank, folks?
Well, I'm gonna jump in here because I last week that Hank the Tank,
Maybe we
they took
should
Hank.
give him some background, Bridey, because maybe
Well,
all our listeners are not going to know about Hank the Tank.
and Bruce, you can correct me if any of this, but Hank the Tank has kind of been notorious for a while at just kind of wreaking havoc on the town and eating the trash and getting into houses. And it's a huge bear. And come to find out, I think Bruce, right? Come to find out, it's a mama.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some cubs that she's trained.
Uh-huh.
So they got Hank the Tank and her cubs and shipped them off to a lovely spot in Colorado, right? I think that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Does
we
Colorado know about this?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I actually had a resident bear expert here the other day because we had a bear break into our garage one night, broke the window, and then came back a few nights later and just tore the whole garage door off.
Oh, my soul.
Wow.
and
That's
and
nasty.
drank our almond milk and ate our frozen avocados in the fridge in the garage. So we have a bear expert here. His name is Toogie, Tahoe Toogie, and he's been on National Geographic and BBC documentaries, and so he's really actually an expert in urbanized bears. So he brought some electric mats that just kind of zing the bear, if he or she tries to get into my garage again. But he was saying anyway that Tahoe we have a crazy number of bears around here. So he told me a statistic that I guess Yosemite right now has 1 bear for every 2 square miles, and Tahoe has 2 bears for every 1 square mile.
Wow.
Wow.
So we have 500 bears in the basin apparently right now. So
My son had his own Tahoe bear experience. We were camping a little north of the lake there in one of those places, and we were unloading some things from the car, and we had actually decided to stay in a little hotel that night. And the guy said, "Take everything out of the car and take it up on the second floor to your room." So we were going back and forth, and my son came running in, and a bear came up, and they were like 2 feet from each other, and they both screamed and ran in opposite directions. So we got some pretty bold bears out there.
Oh my gosh. Well, while the bear was chugging almond milk in my garage, there was another one on the street waiting for him to be done. It was like Yogi and Boo Boo, they were like waiting for each other.
That's great. I don't know. It sounds like Tahoe Toogie is somebody we might want to get on the old Bucks here.
You absolutely should have him on, because man, does he have stories. Oh my gosh. Unbelievable what that guy does.
All right. Well, we're going to count on you to be our connection here.
You got it.
We
I'll
can
do
talk
it. Yeah.
sometime.
Give them a heads up. Yeah, we'd like to talk to.
That'd be
You
great.
two are very, very busy folks. I got to give you credit. I mean, you got a lot of things going on, a lot of interesting stuff going on. I think it's fascinating to be a part of all that. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, and really want to thank you two both for coming back here and doing this joint episode with us. This is terrific, and I love getting the update from you. And you both have the same enthusiasm and drive going forward here to make all this stuff happen. It's just great.
Thank you very much. We definitely appreciate it. And I'll be at a Duran Duran concert tomorrow night. It's just, so.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on again. It's just great to hear you and be able to talk with you again.
All right. So let's maybe there'll be another update here in another year or so when you're both famous authors, more famous authors than you are.
for other books, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
All I can say is old Buckdale was really pleased that he got a chance to talk to you folks. Wish you all the best. And to our listeners, you know what books we're talking about. Keep an eye out for them.
We'll put them in the show notes.
Yep.
Everybody again, absolutely. All right, thanks everybody. We'll talk to you all again next week. It's Old Buck Dave saying so long.
Old Buckdale saying, talk to you next time.